Hi, I'm Lenny. And you?
Hi. Me? I'm Julian.
Hey, they're all playing and you're sitting over here all on your own. Why?
Oh, I'm not allowed to play, and I can't, I don't even want to.
Do you know what? Why don't you just tell me exactly what's wrong with you, okay?
Well, you see, I've got diabetes. It started a few days ago. I was really thirsty all of a sudden. I didn't really notice it. My mummy was wondering why I had to go to the toilet so often. And I also felt really weak and tired. Then Mummy took me to see the doctor. At the doctor's, everything went really quick.
Yes, Julian, what we have to do is take a urine sample, and then I'll go ahead and do a blood test at the same time.
You think it might be diabetes?
What?
Yes, Julian, I really think you do have diabetes, as your mother correctly assumed just now.
What does that mean for Julius, and what do we have to do?
Well then, firstly we'll have to get his body to adapt to the changes. You see, he's been lacking insulin for some time. How long for, we'll see from his HbA1c values, which you could say are something like an average of your blood glucose levels over the last 3 months. What's important now is to adapt your dosage of insulin to your blood glucose level, so that you can live a normal life.
Will everything have to change then?
Yes and no. You'll learn all about it as his body is making the adjustments.
And now you're really frightened, aren't you?
I am. I don't understand it, and I just don't want it.
I know where you're coming from. But hey, kiddo, you know you're not the only boy who's got diabetes. There are so many people who have diabetes. And you know what? I'm one of them too.
What, you? But you're big and strong, and I bet you aren't frightened at all.
Yeah, that's true. I'm big and strong, and I'm not frightened either. But the reason for that is I know a lot about diabetes. We're only really scared of things we just don't know about, right?
Yes, sure.
While we're on this subject, do you know just exactly what diabetes is and how it starts? Right then, listen to this. Diabetes is not a new illness. It's been affecting humans for more than 3,500 years. This is what a German scientist found out when he stumbled across a roll of papyrus in Egypt, which contained details about the illness. Then a description emerged from the year 1550 BC in which a Greek doctor stated the following about the illness. Diabetes mellitus, also known as type 1 diabetes, is translated as honey sweet flow, the reason for this being that urine not only has a sweet smell, but also tastes sweet. Well, whoever it was doing the tasting, I have no idea. Anyway, our body needs energy to function. It gets it from the things we eat, like this roll here, for example. Carbohydrate is the word used to cover all types of sugar in the foods we eat. In our stomachs, carbohydrate from the roll is broken down into glucose. It gives the body the energy it needs. Then the glucose swims with our blood to all the cells around the body, especially to our muscles. The glucose needs a key to get into our muscles. This key is called insulin. Insulin is created in the pancreas and sent out whenever we eat something. Glucose, or the energy our muscles need, can only get into the muscles with the help of insulin. If someone has diabetes, then their body produces very little or no insulin at all. Because of that, glucose stands no chance of getting into the muscles. You feel worn out, thirsty, and the body tries to flush out all the excess glucose. That's why we have to go to the toilet so often. Only 8% of people who have diabetes have type 1 diabetes mellitus. Most people get type 2 diabetes mellitus. What's the difference? Type 1 diabetes mellitus occurs in children and teenagers when the pancreas is no longer capable of producing sufficient insulin. Type 2 diabetes mellitus is often hereditary and occurs due to a lack of activity or poor eating habits. People get overweight, and type 2 diabetes is more likely to occur. In such a case, the pancreas produces insulin, but the body is no longer able to process it properly. So, make it any clearer?
Yes, it does. And with the insulin I'll be getting, things will be almost like before, won't they?
That's right. So there's no need for you to be frightened when you're going to the doctors either.
So, Julian, you must have heard a great deal about diabetes by now. I'd like to explain a few things to you. So, your body's short of...
Insulin.
Insulin. Exactly. And we've got to find a way to get this insulin inside your body.
Are there different treatment methods?
Yes. First of all, there's this pen. It works just like an injection. It's got a really fine needle at the front and an adjuster wheel at the back. And using this adjuster wheel, you can set precisely the amount of insulin you want to inject. There's long-lasting insulin, which provides you with a basic dosage for the entire day. There's also short-acting insulin. You have to inject this before having a meal. It regulates your glucose level after eating. It really depends how much CUs, or carbohydrates, you intend to eat. You have to consider this before every meal. Or there's this pump. It consists of this pump here and this infusion set. And together they continuously supply your body with small doses of insulin via a catheter. It works almost as your pancreas would if it were still functioning properly. But it's extremely important that Julian knows how many CUs he'll be eating before he has his dinner. Right, you need to work it out. And when you've worked it out, you can simply press the button on the pump to provide yourself with an extra portion of insulin. And that's what we call a bolus. And with both methods, it's important that you measure correctly. I've got everything here you need for measuring, and it would be great if you could show me how you're going to do it. Yep. So this is the blood glucose meter, some test strips, and the finger prick. Just pretend you're doing it for real.
First, you place the test strips in the meter. And then a prick.
Mm-hmm.
And then blood
Mm-hmm.
onto the strip.
And then travels up to the meter. How long do you have to wait?
5 seconds.
Great, Julius. That's fantastic. Julian's a natural.
In the first film, there was a lot of information on diabetes. We've seen that insulin is not produced by the body. That's why glucose, which is what all the cells and muscles really need, is not able to be used there. Everyone with type 1 diabetes has a pancreas that does not produce insulin. However, there are good therapies which can replace the missing insulin and to help us have normal lives. The more we know about diabetes, the less worry this condition will be for people that deal with it every day. And always remember this: you're not alone. I can name many other kids and adults with type 1 diabetes. And there's me too, Lenny. Let's take a look at everyday life and diabetes situations. To start, I'd like to show you how our pancreas used to work when things were going well overall, right? Then I'd like to show how the individual therapies and the replacement insulin can be used best. This information is very important for finding a therapy option you like. This choice taking depends on you. Best if you decide how to treat your diabetes with the doctor. If you don't have diabetes, the pancreas produces precisely the amount of insulin the body needs throughout the course of the day. It depends on whether we are, for example, active or sleeping. This is called nutrition-independent insulin requirement. And we also need an extra amount of insulin when we eat food because our blood glucose rises after eating, so mostly at breakfast, lunch and dinner. It follows that this is our nutrition-dependent insulin requirement. If you have diabetes, the pancreas does not supply nutrition-independent or dependent requirements. Therefore, you have to provide it to your body. There are different ways to do this. With MDI, multiple daily injection, the one with the pen, a long-lasting insulin covers the nutrition-independent requirement. That is called basal insulin. It is usually injected in the morning and in the evening. As you can see, it is only an approximate copy of normal basal insulin produced by the pancreas. For meals, a fast-acting short-term insulin is injected. This is similar to what the normal pancreas would produce. Let's take a look at the way insulin is given in CSII, the continuous subcutaneous insulin infusion, or insulin pump therapy. The continuous release of small amounts of short-acting insulin acts like the basal insulin. This is adjusted as needed, so that rate is closer to that of a person without diabetes. At mealtimes, an extra amount of insulin can be released by the touch of a button. That is the bolus. Only one type of short-term insulin is used in the insulin pump. It always works immediately, just like the short-acting bolus insulin with MDI. Apart from activity, one very important aspect of diabetes is food. What does our food actually consist of? Correct. Proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. What is important for people with diabetes is carbohydrates. That is the umbrella term for the different kinds of glucose in foodstuffs. You have to estimate the carbohydrates when you eat to determine the necessary insulin. For this purpose, we have the calculation unit CU. This means carbohydrate unit. 10 to 12 grams of carbohydrate is a CU. Sure, fruit is a far better choice than sweets, for example, but they're so yummy. And if you have a balanced diet, you don't need to go without. That also includes this tomato.
Mummy, may I cut the fruit and greens and eat some of it?
Yeah, I suppose so. Let's have a look. For the mixed rice, we need the cucumber. We've bought some peppers. And we need some more lovely tomatoes. So, have any of them got CU?
No.
None of them? And what about, for example, the banana?
2 CU?
Because it's a big one, eh? And what about the apple?
1 CU.
And, what about your tasty little favourites? Shall we take a look?
Sweeties.
Yeah. That's a chocky bar. How many for it?
1 CU?
Yeah, that's true. And the pudding?
Oh, I've forgotten.
So let's take a little look at the CU table, okay? And what's it say?
1.5 CU.
Super! But not until after your meal.
Some sweet things have a lot of carbohydrate, just like pizzas, chips, and spaghetti. However, there are also lots of foods which don't contain any carbohydrate at all. They include meat and sausage, eggs, cheese, and many different types of vegetables. Very important before eating, and when playing or doing sport, is blood glucose measurements. People with diabetes should always have a meter with them.
Jules, time for food. Don't forget to test.
I'm in the middle of it.
Oh, and don't forget to wash your hands.
Already done.
Good. What's the result?
106.
Yeah, fine, then we can eat now. Later we'll see the doctor. Let's see what he has to say about your levels.
Your doctor is always there to help you with your diabetes. Oh yeah, and there's me too. He will help you look at your blood glucose control, check your injection sites and finger prick sites, and help you with a therapy plan which suits you best. That needn't be the same for every person at all times. Sometimes it changes as you get older or if your interests change. Oh, and there's another thing we haven't yet spoken about. Low blood glucose level or hypoglycemia and high blood glucose level or hyperglycemia. Most people with diabetes know the signs of low glucose levels. Headaches, pounding heart and dizziness are some of the most common. They can occur if blood glucose levels are low, around 60 milligrams per deciliter or 3.3 millimole per litre. However, this differs from person to person. Every one of us has to watch out for the signals in their own body. If you feel that you're low, then have some dextrose or drink a glass of apple juice. If you don't have something sweet, you could go unconscious. Then you would get an emergency injection or the doctor would help you at the hospital. With hyperglycemia, that's an increased blood glucose level, usually higher than 250 milligrams per deciliter or 14 millimole per litre, it may not be so obvious that something's wrong. If there's too much glucose in the blood, then the body tries to flush it out in urine. The result is that you have to go all the time. And you can feel quite tired or sick, even grouchy. And there may be a smell of acetone, a bit like decayed apples. If your blood glucose level stays really high, you could also go unconscious. It's a bit like Sleeping Beauty, who sleeps but can't wake up by herself. If this happens, you need to see a doctor really quick. No amount of kisses would help. If blood sugar levels are too high, you need to take insulin straight away. Don't eat anything rich in carbohydrates and drink lots of water. People with diabetes, and me of course, avoid these situations if possible. Firstly, because we don't like lying around in hospital. And secondly, because otherwise we might suffer from the consequences of diabetes in a few years. So make sure you go and get checked out regularly.
Good. The levels are naturally erratic, but that's quite normal for a little bit... Oh, excuse me. I mean a young man of almost 8. How's he getting on with the injections?
You know, he's getting there. He's so very brave, but, you know...
Yes, I can imagine. It's very common. We've spoken about different therapy options. Each has something in his favour. First of all...
What ends up being the best choice is something you decide together with the doctor. To stay with injections or decide for the pump. Well, it's probably best if you just try it out. So tell me, Julian, are you thinking about the pump or do you think the pen's best for you?
I really don't know. I'm thinking about it. Can you hold my ice so I can give myself a jab?
Yeah, I've got a pump, so I have to give a quick bolus for my ice. Ah, of course you don't know about that. I'm taking a bolus right now. Yeah, it's really practical. And now slurp down that ice. The team's waiting for you.